Did you know that for this movie, Florence Pugh actually jumped off the Merdeka 118 in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, which is the second tallest building in the world at 2,227 feet, with no CGI or a stunt double. Originally, I had mixed feelings about this movie. Really, the thing that got me interested in this movie was seeing Sentry, the Void, but before that, it was just like, I knew it was just gonna be like a fun kind of Suicide Squad type deal. Then I started seeing reviews and early screen feedback, and people are saying that it was amazing, it's the best thing since Endgame. And I saw the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll wait to see what the audience score and then IMDb. And both scores are very impressive. Highest scores I've seen in a while for a Marvel movie, and I was really impressed by this movie, honestly. I really did like this movie. And I'm just going to start out with the things that I liked, and then I'll tell you what I didn't like at the end. So the first thing I liked about this movie was I liked the action and the comedy. So I knew that we would be getting a lot of comedic jokes, a lot of witty, funny banter back and forth, some insults, all that. Specifically from the Red Guardian, but also like John Walker as well. It's just going to make for a funny time. The comedy, I was dying some parts. Red Guardian is hilarious. I know Alexei is supposed to be a serious character. Right now, they haven't really portrayed him as a serious character at all. There's only one moment in the movie where he was like, you could actually see him use his powers, but outside of that, he's just typical Alexei. And then you have John Walker, who I've never really been a fan of him, but like he's kind of just being portrayed as like that idiot in the group as well. But he had some pretty funny moments. Out of all those people in the movie, Red Guardian just had me dying a lot. But it was great. It was great having that comedic relief, having Bob in there. That was like the funny thing too, because every time they would say the name Bob or, you know, say something to Bob, like every single time it was funny. Like some of the jokes in the movies did fall flat eventually, but that didn't. Like that part just like ripping on Bob or just saying, who's Bob, you know, all that. That was just really funny, a really entertaining part of the movie for me. But yeah, the action was pretty good too. I liked them going against each other, but then they got to go against a big strike team. The fight scene with Sentry was pretty cool. Yeah, they all have such unique abilities. None of them have superpowers. I mean, they're all just like typical people. I mean, yeah, you have a couple super soldiers, but that's it. It's more grounded, like it's more realistic than your typical superhero movie. So I liked seeing that. Then the second thing I liked about this movie, and it's the thing I liked the most, is I was not expecting this movie to have such a serious tone to it. It really focused a lot on mental health, regrets, and mistakes, and the past, especially with Yelena battling with herself, figuring out what her purpose in life is, and Alexei's trying to give her encouragement and all that, and we just get to see a little bit more of her backstory. We got to see a good amount of it in Black Widow, but now we get to see even more and just how damaged she really is. And then Bob, his backstory was really good too, really solid. I like that. Like I like the change we get to see in that kind of character, and the darker side, the void, not just like the physical void, but the void of your mind. Like you're trapped in your mind and you have to break out somehow. So I like that. That scene, the scene where they're all in the void together, that was my favorite part of the movie. Yelena went to the void to try to convince Bob, and then everyone else went to the void, and eventually Bob ends up fighting himself and dealing with his own stuff, his own darkness. It is, you know, kind of typical, but at the same time, it was really well executed and very different. I can't say I've ever seen this in a Marvel movie before, and I think that's a reason why people really like it. Is because it hits a little closer to home. It does follow a formula still, but it deviates from the formula enough for people to be like, wow, this is different, I like it, like it's getting really good ratings and people can actually feel what these characters are going through and actually relate to what these characters are going through. And then the things I didn't like, number one is Taskmaster, how they utilized her. I knew Taskmaster wasn't going to make it very far in this movie just because people had been talking about it early on. But then it was confirmed when we got the first cast announcements for Doomsday, and I didn't see the actress's name on any chair, so we knew right away Taskmaster wasn't going to make it. Now, I originally thought, which would make more sense than what actually happened, was Taskmaster getting killed by Sentry or Void, because that makes the most logical sense. Well, she didn't end up getting killed by him. She got killed by somebody else, and probably the dumbest way possible. They butchered Taskmaster from the beginning, so I guess it's not that big of a surprise that they would just like completely throw her character out because nobody was a fan of her to begin with, because of how badly they messed her up. and just how badly they deviated from who Taskmaster actually is. Because if they really cared about Taskmaster at all, Taskmaster would have made it through a lot more than that. But it seems like she's a very expendable character, a character nobody really gave a crap about, and they're just like, oh, we're gonna give her like 5 minutes of screen time and then that's it. But the way they went about it was pretty bad, pretty terrible writing. Was not a fan of that at all, and that was really my biggest complaint about the movie. And then I'd say my other thing I didn't really like is I felt sometimes the pacing was a little slow, kind of discombobulated. There wasn't much happening. They're trying to just like piece random storylines together, and they weren't really cohesive. And then the comedy, I love the comedy, but there was a couple moments where they were trying too hard at times. I feel like they were always trying to make a wisecrack or insult somebody and be funny, but they couldn't just let there be a serious moment at times where there was meant to be serious moments at times. And when there were a couple of them, they just like turned it into a comedic joke. John Walker's mental health, like what he went through, it was good until they just started laughing at him. I'm like, that's like relatable to real life. Like this happens in real life. It seems like people don't really care that much about men's mental health versus women's mental health. Now, I could be completely wrong, but I just feel like men have it a lot harder off than women when it comes to dealing with this stuff. I wasn't a fan of that. But all that being said, it was still a solid movie. I will say no, it's not even close to the best thing since Endgame. I know people have been saying that. It's not even close. It's solid, but it does not hold a candle to Endgame. I highly recommend check this movie out. It's just a really good time, and you will be surprised by how good it is. So for Thunderbolts, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 Mudflaps. And remember, leave me a thumbs up and drop in the comments below. What team up are you hoping to see in the future for Marvel? See you soon.